Oxygen is not the most abundant gas around us, but when it comes to staying alive, oxygen takes the top spot. Every creature needs it to live. So, what if it suddenly went missing for just 5 seconds? You might shrug and think, I can stop breathing for 5 seconds, no problem. But if the entire planet was stripped of oxygen for even that brief time, things would get really bad, really fast. Let's talk about what could happen if the world ran out of oxygen for just those few moments. The essence oxygen. Oxygen is a gas that is all around us, but we often don't think about it much. It's a big part of the air we breathe. Oxygen is super important for all living things on Earth, including people, animals, and plants. For humans and animals, oxygen is key for breathing. When we breathe in, our lungs take in oxygen from the air. This oxygen goes into our blood and travels to all parts of our body. Our body uses this oxygen to turn food into energy. Without oxygen, we couldn't get the energy we need to walk, talk, eat, or work. Plants need oxygen too, but in a different way. During the day, plants take in carbon dioxide and use sunlight to make their food through photosynthesis. Even though this process makes oxygen, which they release into the air, plants also use oxygen to break down food for energy, especially at night. Oxygen is also a part of water. Without oxygen, there would be no water. And without water, life as we know it wouldn't exist. Oxygen also plays a role in protecting us from the sun's harmful rays. High up in the Earth's atmosphere, there's a layer made mostly of a special kind of oxygen called ozone. This ozone layer acts like a big sunscreen for the planet, blocking out a lot of the sun's dangerous ultraviolet, UV rays. Without this layer, those rays could harm all living things, causing health problems and making it tough for life to survive. But where does all this oxygen come from? Most of it is made by plants and certain tiny ocean plants called phytoplankton. When they do photosynthesis, they release oxygen into the air. This is a big deal because it helps keep the balance of gases in the air for life on Earth. But oxygen levels haven't always been the same on our planet. Long ago, there was a lot less oxygen in the air. Over millions of years, plants and algae made more and more oxygen, which helped create the conditions for more complex life forms, like animals and humans, to evolve. Our environment and atmosphere. If oxygen were to suddenly disappear from our atmosphere, the impact on us would be dramatic and wide-ranging. One of the most immediate and noticeable effects would be the appearance of the sky during the day. Normally, the sky looks blue because of the way sunlight scatters as it hits the molecules in the atmosphere, including oxygen. Without oxygen, there would be fewer particles for the sunlight to scatter off, making the sky look much darker, almost black. It would seem as if the sunlight was coming from a single point, rather than spreading out in all directions as it does now. Oxygen plays a crucial role in the structure and stability of concrete. It acts as a binding agent in the concrete mix, helping to hold everything together. Without oxygen, the concrete would lose its binding ability and start to crumble into dust. This would have a catastrophic effect on buildings, bridges, and other structures made of concrete, leading to widespread collapses and failures. Metals have a thin layer of oxidation on their surface, which prevents them from sticking together. If oxygen were removed, this protective layer would disappear, causing untreated metals to instantly weld together upon contact. This phenomenon would drastically affect everything from machinery and vehicles to everyday tools and infrastructure, leading to chaos and destruction. Oxygen, particularly in the form of ozone in the upper atmosphere, plays a vital role in protecting the Earth from the sun's harmful ultraviolet, UV, rays. A loss of oxygen would mean a depletion of the ozone layer, allowing more UV radiation to reach the Earth's surface. This would lead to an increase in sunburns and a higher risk of skin cancers and other UV-related health issues for living beings. Beyond these immediate effects, the loss of oxygen would lead to a broader ecological collapse. Plants and animals, which rely on oxygen for respiration, would quickly die off, leading to a breakdown in the food chain and ecosystem balance. Water bodies would also be affected, as oxygen is crucial for the survival of aquatic life. The composition of the atmosphere would change drastically. With oxygen gone, nitrogen would become the dominant component, along with other gases in smaller quantities. This shift would alter the atmospheric pressure and temperature, potentially leading to extreme weather conditions and making the planet uninhabitable for just a few seconds. Our Earth's infrastructure. If our Earth suddenly loses its oxygen, the consequences would be catastrophic for our planet and its infrastructure. First, there would be no fire. Fire requires oxygen to burn, so every natural and human-made fire would be extinguished. This would have a massive impact on our daily lives and various industries. For example, anything that relies on combustion, like most of our vehicles and many industrial processes, would cease to function. The combustion process in vehicles, which powers everything from cars to planes, relies on oxygen. Without it, internal combustion engines would stop working, leaving millions of cars useless. Planes, reliant on jet engines that also require oxygen for combustion, would lose power and be unable to stay in the air. This would halt air travel and could lead to severe plane crashes within those 5 seconds. Also, oxygen makes up a significant portion of the Earth's crust. Without it, the compounds that make up soil and rock would break apart. This could lead to the crumbling of the Earth's surface, destabilizing everything built upon it, from the smallest buildings to the largest cities. Water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. Without oxygen, water would split into hydrogen gas, which is very light and would escape into the upper atmosphere and eventually into space. This would lead to the rapid evaporation of oceans, rivers, and lakes, drastically changing the Earth's climate and landscape. The loss of water bodies would also mean the end of aquatic life and significant changes to the global ecosystem. With the end of the combustion processes, our energy systems would collapse. Power plants that rely on burning fossil fuels would shut down, leading to a global energy crisis. Industries that depend on combustion for manufacturing processes would also grind to a halt, leading to economic collapse and a drastic change in how we live our lives. In this new world without oxygen, Earth would be a barren, lifeless planet with crumbling infrastructure and a drastically altered landscape. The impact on our body. In a world without oxygen, even for a short time, our bodies would undergo dramatic and harmful changes. One of the first things that would happen is related to our ears and hearing. Our inner ears are sensitive to changes in air pressure. Normally, the air is about 21% oxygen, and this oxygen contributes to the overall air pressure. If all the oxygen were to vanish, the air pressure around us would drop suddenly, almost like moving from sea level to a high mountain in a blink. This sudden pressure drop is something our bodies are not designed to handle well. This condition is known as barotrauma. It's something divers or airplane passengers might experience when they go through rapid changes in altitude or depth. However, in the case of oxygen disappearing, the effect would be much more severe. The pressure difference would likely cause our eardrums to rupture, leading to immediate and intense pain, and possibly permanent hearing loss. Without oxygen, our lungs, which are constantly working to exchange carbon dioxide for oxygen, would suddenly have nothing to take in. This would lead to a feeling of suffocation, as our bodies would still be producing carbon dioxide that we couldn't get rid of through breathing. The lack of oxygen would also mean our cells couldn't produce energy, leading to a rapid shutdown of bodily functions. Our brain and other vital organs rely heavily on a continuous supply of oxygen to function. Oxygen is crucial for the production of energy in cells. Without it, our cells would quickly exhaust their energy reserves, leading to widespread organ failure. The brain, being particularly sensitive to oxygen deprivation, would suffer damage within seconds. The circulatory system, which transports oxygen to cells and removes carbon dioxide, would be thrown into chaos. Without oxygen to pick up, blood would circulate but not fulfill its primary function. This could lead to circulatory shock, where the body's organs begin to fail due to a lack of oxygenated blood. Oxygen plays a role in maintaining healthy skin and tissue. In its absence, our skin and tissues would start to suffer from the lack of nourishment and the buildup of toxins, normally removed by the oxygen-rich blood. This could lead to necrosis, where cells in the tissues die off, further complicating the body's survival prospects. In a hypothetical scenario where oxygen never returned, the long-term survival of humans and most other life forms would be impossible. Our bodies are simply not built to function without oxygen, even for relatively short periods. The immediate effects on hearing, combined with the rapid decline of our respiratory, neurological, and circulatory systems, would make survival beyond a few minutes incredibly unlikely. So, what are your thoughts? Do you think we in the world would survive this apocalyptic scenario? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, subscribe, take care, and see you next time.